Hello, friends. We're in Engine Performance, and it's COVID. So we have the students back, but we have to have one student per team instead of two. So that means we have to double up on the bugged vehicles. Doing a lot of them, so I figured I'd share them, what we did. Okay, hey, here's some coils for a 2GRFKS. The one on the right, you can see I drilled out the center. I'm going to leave that intact and put the extension on. On this one, I'm just going to leave, on this one, um, you can see real closely, I drilled out a hole right there. And the guys are getting a little more examining wise, so I like a little piece of black foam in there, and it kind of just looks like a neck. All right, so let's move on to a couple more coils. Here's from an A25. That's only three terminals now because got rid of IGF. And what I did there was I'm just going to remove the spring in one of them, see what happens. And then the other one, I did a little itty bitty drill where you can see right there. And again, black foam in there. Okay. Coolant temperature sensors, they're fun. That's like one of the first lab sheets we start off with. Okay, and here's some of the black foam. And the sensors, I noticed, what I'll do is I'll drill a hole, but put a little piece of black foam in there, and that'll open it up. And you can see the difference on if it's a white connector, I drilled a hole, but I just put a little white piece of paper in there, and it's harder to tell. Here's one that has the hole, and it's kind of obvious if they can see it. But, if they measure things up right, they can figure it out as well. Okay, a map sensor off an A25. I just put a little drywall screw, cut it off, and sealed it up with fibbage. That'll be fun. This is kind of new to me, but it's a low pressure fuel pressure sensor. Okay, and what I did was I just tapped a hole and put a screw and then sawed it off. Put a little red Loctite on there. I've done this with AC transducers, AC pressure sensors, and it works good. I'm going to see how this works. We should get 0 psi. Moving on next, we have some VV2I actuators on, I guess they'll fit the A25A, but definitely these are off of a 2GRFKS. And one, this little, this is the actuator right there, and it pops out as you apply voltage and stuff like that. On this one, I ground it down. Okay, so it's not going to be able to open. Electrically, it'll be okay, so we should get a performance code as far as that goes. And on this one, I just drilled down the bottom there, and there's a little square area there, and again, that black foam sealed it up pretty good, and we'll see how quick the turnaround time is on that. On the A25, we have a kind of a new part. This is a oil pressure control valve. Kind of looks similar to the old oil control valves, but what I did with this one is drilled out a little hole there. You can't see that too well. Filled it in with black foam, and we'll see what happens there. But it's an open now. I'll probably go into a default. Here, good old short and simple PCV valve off of a 2GRFKS. What I did was I just ground off the plastic, and that'll hopefully cause a big positive fuel trim, but we'll see. This is an old favorite of mine, but it's 2GRFE. These are the banjo bolts for the oil feed on the cylinder heads, and there's a screen that normally goes there. Okay, what I did was actually just get a 10 millimeter bolt with a 1.25 pitch. That's a real common bolt for us, and I tapped a hole here, and then I put the screw in, and I cut the screw off or bolt off, and then I put a little hacksaw blade mark there so I can just screw them in and out. So that's good for oil control valve active tests. The active test won't work. I mean, no, you can do the active test, but you'll get no response out of the VVTi on those for the whatever bank you decide to put those in. Okay, so that's it for bug parts, but I do want to share some of my new favorite tools and stuff that I'm playing with. We have this for bugging cars, uh, those itsy bitsy wires I hate, and this is really good for stripping them so I can solder in a lead. Also, you may be familiar with the 10 millimeter double hexagon 10 millimeter for cylinder head bolts of 2ARs and 2GR and stuff like that. One of my students pointed out you can get a set of two for under 20 bucks on Amazon. So that's that. And again, this is different than the triple square. This is a bihexagon. I think they call it a bi-square, but again, that fits a lot better. I mean, the triple square will work, but this is the right tool, half-inch drive also. Also, there's a E12 that's needed on the 825 engine. I got it in 3/8 drive, but on Amazon, Tektron's got an E12 half-inch drive, which I thought was very helpful. And I've seen this in assembly plants, but I've never had one of my own. But this is a piston ring installer for a A25A. I think it's the same bore as a 2AR too, but my students using this did not break a single ring this year, so that's awesome. Last tool is a homemade kit. It's an ADAS kit, and this would be one kit, and got 50 foot on these two blocks here. I mean, I've been doing it, but we've been going through a lot of string and stuff like that. So this is for the center line of the vehicle. They can just throw that under the car. You got your plumb bob tape, Ace Hardware metric and standard tape measure, and 215 blocks of string for the rear blind spot monitor to stretch them out and stuff like that. And for that, for the front camera, instead of having the guys make the string, I show them how to make their strings. And what I do was just put some tape there and mark it 600 millimeters. There's another one with 1,000 millimeters. That way they don't have to be playing around with tape. And usually they, if it says 1,000 millimeters, they usually cut it at 1,000 millimeters, and they have to figure out they got to be longer than what you need. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you got any good stuff to share with me, love to see it. Take care.